Hi, Jay. This is Steve from Tampa. I wanted to take up your homework assignment asking to compare and contrast the fear felt by conservatives living near the US-Mexico border and Israeli Jews. So I think that the fear felt by these two groups is layered, and the top layer is the fear of physical violence, an imminent physical threat. The difference is in the US, you have the idea that people coming across the border are going to be violent as thugs or criminals or gang members. They're just rough people, so we shouldn't let them in. In Israel, it's a fear of terrorism. I don't think that Israelis regard every single Palestinian as a violent threat, but they don't know who is. So rather than a fear of an ethnic group just being a rough people, you have a fear of an ethnic group being more prone to terrorism or just random acts of violence. But the similarity is how the media pushes these ideas. In the US, you have Trump and Fox News bringing up MS-13 a lot. And in Israel, you have a lot of reporting occur on acts of violence committed by Palestinians. For example, a veiled woman pulling out a knife at an Israeli bus stop comes to mind. The other layer of fear is the economic fear. Both groups are worried that if the border is too open, you'll have either Latin Americans or Palestinians coming in and taking advantage of the better economic environment. This will strain welfare, this will take jobs, and it's a zero-sum game. So that's the other fear. And intertwined with these two fears is the very important ethnic layer of fear. And it's very, very similar. I think that in the US, it's been talked about on this show. It's the fear, the browning of America, the fear that whites will no longer be the majority. And in Israel, it's this insecurity, this national insecurity caused by the accusation of apartheid, which is only strengthened if Israel's population is skewed and Palestinians outnumber Jews in Israel proper and not just in the surrounding Gaza and West Bank. So these three fears, physical violence, economic threat, and ethnic imbalance, demographic imbalance being caused, I think are really similar. I think that the major difference is the object, the image of that fear. Now, in terms of policy, that's an easy one. For both countries, the response to that fear has been a wall and a militarization of the border. But there is some nuance here. In the US, the proposed wall stays on the border. In Israel, the wall surrounds any settlement that pops up in the West Bank. So what I'm getting at is that Israel uses its wall as a form of power, and you may see the border of the West Bank on a map, but if you look at where Israel's wall is within the West Bank, it seems as if Israel's border actually extends past, and the military controls the wall. So you could say that Israel's border is slowly being extended with each settlement that pops up, and walls go around these settlements. A major difference is the attitude on guns, the stance towards guns. In Israel, guns are highly regulated. Most Israeli citizens do compulsory military service after high school, and thus most Israeli citizens are trained in firearms. But guns are highly regulated. They're not a household item like they are here. And Israeli citizens, though many are in the reserves and would defend Israel's border if it were under attack, they don't expect to need to defend either themselves or the border unless they're actually in the military. Whereas in the US, guns are a household item. Citizens don't have this trust that they are protected by the police or the military. So citizens see guns as a means of self-defense that they can use before help arrives. In Israel, it's just not like that. In terms of other policies created out of fear that caused oppression, I think that Jim Crow comes to mind. internment of Japanese Americans during World War II comes to mind. But I have a harder time thinking of policies that did not cause oppression. I think that they exist, but it's hard for me to come up with a response. So maybe you'll just have to give me partial credit for this one. Hope it added some nuance to the conversation. Thanks for all you do. Bye-bye.